morning to everybody. I want to thank everybody for showing up this fine Thursday morning after the snow. I don't know if you guys got that yesterday, but we are back in the saddle and ready to go today with a interesting webinar. I think that's going to obviously be focused on team leaders and folks that are supporting teams and offices. And so we are going to kind of break down the system today and really just kind of focus on some ways that it can deliver you value to in turn deliver value out to your teams, make them more productive, make them more knowledgeable, and just overall more competitive, which I think is what everybody on this call is hoping to achieve. So I'm hoping we can support you in that. And so if you are new to the system, just a little introduction to what this is all about. So you are looking at sort of this main page hub right here, which is essentially a portal into real-time data for the state of Connecticut, moving all the way down to your local neighborhoods. This is updating every 15 minutes, but the big thing here is we've really tried to organize the information in a way that sits in your shoes, both as leaders and as producers, and tries to really think about how to deliver this stuff to you guys to make it as easy as possible to grab things, plug them into deals and your business in general, and really just be more data driven. I think that that's kind of the key focus of this entire session today, is just to kind of build data driven teams, which I think everybody can agree is needed out there. So we are going to really break the session into 3 parts today. And so, as you're going and maybe taking notes and sort of thinking about how you might be able to, bring these back to your teams, I want to kind of put it into this little framework right here, which is pretty simple. And so the key, I guess, top level of application of this whole tool is really market knowledge, right? And so I think that you guys can agree that you have, your area of business where your team or office is working, and you have an imperative to essentially track that market, understand that market, lead the team in terms of how to interpret what's going on and bring it out to your team. So we're going to focus in the beginning on this kind of thing and just giving you kind of some bullet points of how you guys can quickly get the high level stuff and bring it out to your folks. And then the other 2 ways that we want to apply data to become more data driven is within the transaction. So we have a system here called dashboards that is really designed to take the transaction from the initial meeting of the client all the way through the listing and price changes and accepting offers all the way down to closing, and provide you guys with little nuggets of information that can be useful in those transactions. So we're not going to go super detailed into dashboards today, but I do want to highlight it to you guys in a few training materials we have so that you can sort of bring these little nuggets of information to your agents and help them to impress clients along the way with better data. And then the third thing is down here on the bottom. And this really comes down to growing your business, helping your agents grow their businesses, and sort of delivering them some best practices about how they can plug smart market information into that. And that could be anything from, having content that's fresh for social media, maybe having some interesting tidbits to put into their mailers, or just things that they can pop into a text message to maybe revitalize clients in their book of business or sphere of influence. And so we'll talk about that. Okay, so if that sounds good, I will go ahead and dive into things, drop any questions into the chat, and as we get going, we will address those. So we first talked about market knowledge. I know that you guys a lot of times are leading weekly meetings where you are tasked with kind of conveying the news about what's going on, maybe within your team or within certain deals or within the market in general. And I know that can be sometimes a tricky task to try to figure out what to plug into those meetings. So I want to lend your attention to this top part up here, which is going to be pre-prepared market insights that you can adjust to your area. And so the first thing I want to point out is this thing called market reports. And so this is live data for your team's footprint. And it's a great thing that you guys can use to bring into a weekly meeting and just start some conversations about things that you're seeing out there in the market and seeing if that kind of matches up with the data. And so I've seen this, happen in meetings, and it's a really nice way to have engagement and also just share, the latest and greatest about news in their area. So depending on where you are focusing your attention with your team or where your footprint is, you can narrow this down and kind of encapsulate that entire area. Obviously you can go down to cities and zip codes as well. I'm assuming that most of you folks operate teams that have larger footprints than that, so you can basically define this however you want. And it's a live report, if you haven't seen it, that kind of goes through and breaks down the news for you, depending on what you want. Now, if you're having a monthly meeting on the first or second of the month and you want to talk about what we're seeing in the market that past month, these top 3 pages are going to do exactly that. And when we're thinking about data, the big 3 things we're thinking about is pricing, what's going on with pricing, has it shifted up or down? Buyer demand, which is a kind of that underlying kind of forces that are going to either put pressure upward or pressure downward. So this one kind of helps us talk about maybe even the future. And then the idea of inventory. I think everybody wants to know what that's looking like that now. What's the balance? And so this is just a really nice place to go through and get the highlights. So we can see in January, for example, in Harford County, we were up 5% from last year. Commission dollars were up 14%. So that's a really good number to get the team excited. And then in terms of pricing, which is what everybody's talking about there with their clients, you've got a 8% year over year increase, and even 10% if we're looking at price per square foot right there. And so this is just a really nice way that you guys can, reveal what's going on in the market out there, start to get your agents thinking about diving into the data more in their day-to-day lives, and really just supporting them in general. And so you can see right here that January is hugely up right here. And then, of course, we can see the seasonal changes that typically kick in up in June. All of this is stuff that you probably guys know in your gut and you feel in your deals. This is really just a way to bring that data out to light. And the second thing, the buyer demand thing, I love talking about this just because this is really the best foreshadow of where prices might be heading. And we look at this in 2 kind of key ways. One is your percent over or under asking, and then of course your days on market. And so the reason I like this is it shows in your territory, and again, you can define this this section of your market. If you guys are more of a luxury team, you can of course go up here and you can specify that to more luxury properties. You can do it however you want, but what it is basically going to do is look at the asking prices in the market and basically tell you if the market is pushing those properties above asking, essentially dictating that they believe that the market pricing is 3%, 4%, 2% over what the asking prices are out there. Or are we seeing deals that are going under asking? In Harford County, it's uncanny. We're not seeing that at all. But right now, the key thing is over 560 sales last month, you were seeing 1.8% continuously over asking. So the message here is that although pricing is at 335 median, the market is probably going to push that up just based on what we're seeing right here. So that's a nice thing to keep the pulse on for your team. Other thing is, of course, days on market. Seasonality, all of this stuff is just great things to discuss. And we can see here that at 18, we might even want to layer in the average if we want to look at it different ways. That is still really good. It's kind of the low point, I think, seasonally. As you can see, January right here always sort of slows down. But if you're getting your team ready for action, as you obviously already know, traditionally, March and April, you see that go in half. And so, in terms of expectations, you'll probably see that coming up here in the next few months. So The thing about this tool, this market reports tool, again, it's just filled with lots of different tidbits that you can maybe make it highlight it for that particular meeting. You don't have to go through and talk about everything all the time here. But there are nice little things that you can point out. Like, for example, in Hartford County, your 1.2, 1.3 luxury category, I don't know what you're feeling out on the street, but that right now is by far the data telling us that it is the most competitive price range right now. And I think that's an actionable thing that your team could potentially take out to market and start to stir up some deals with. So that's kind of interesting right there. The last thing I'll show you on the monthly part is this inventory component, which is really helping you guys articulate what the balance is right now across the market. And the way that we obviously look at this is we look at the sellers versus the buyers. And months of supply is one of those ways we can kind of break down that. You guys are all familiar with how that is calculated. We look at what's active on the market right now. We look at what sold last month, and we break down that months of supply number to give us an idea if it's a seller's market or not. And so at this moment, at 10:10 on February 13th or wherever we are, the $200,000 price range is right now at the all-time high in terms of that balance, right? So again, if I don't know if you guys have your CRMs, the ability to break down your prospects into like a price range. I don't know if you can do that. I think that would be an amazing thing to add in as a custom field for your CRM. And there's a lot of reasons why I would suggest doing that. Is because you can go back and you can tackle your CRM by price range, which I think is a really sharp, accurate way to target your marketing efforts. But anyway, yeah, what are we seeing with asking prices here? So, we actually topped off here in May. Let me go to average asking price per square foot. I like that one better. It normalizes over all property types. So yeah, you've got the height reached at a max right here in September. So we're sitting in this kind of moment right now where asking prices are the most aggressive that they've ever been. In this, if I'm trying to talk about the future with my team, the thing I'm looking at here when I see this record high asking prices and super high months of supply now, I'm thinking about what's happening next month. And I look at this demand number, I look at pendings, and I look at how that relates to the new listings, because I'm seeing a lot more new listings come in last month, but I'm seeing a drop in pendings. And so we can investigate that further down here where we see that uptick, but we see that drop in pendings. My indication is that the market is probably a bit more hesitant right now about those 200 and whatever dollar asking prices, and you're starting to see that pull back. What does that mean for you as a team leader? This is urgency right here. So, I think that you would probably want to tell your sellers about this, or potential sellers. Kind of invokes a sense of urgency. Anyway, just my 2 cents on that. So that was the monthlies. These top three are really good ones for a monthly meeting. If you guys are leading a weekly meeting, there's some weekly data in here, which I think is really, really helpful. If I was running a team meeting on Friday at 9:30, and folks were hanging around, having donuts or whatever, I'd pop this up. I think it's kind of gives them a good sort of talking point about what's the latest and greatest in Hartford County right now. You can see that in terms of sales activity, I'm just going to blow this up for you. We're right on pace. You had 106 last week, which, over the past 2 years has kind of gone down this last week. I don't know exactly why that is. But this allows us to just sort of see how our major metrics are keeping up each week. And this ends on Sunday night, by the way. So that's when the data is refreshed. We can see the days on market is pretty much right on point, actually a little bit faster than 2024. We can see the closed over asking. We can look at inventory numbers as well. And then we can also look at year to date. So this is going to track this little blue line as we go through 2025. And it's going to tell us how we compared overall to last year. So, these are great numbers to have. Of course, what I'm always thinking about, and you should be too, is what do these numbers mean and how can they be used to bring out to the market and kind of lubricate the deals that we're working on. And so, I think it comes down to the psychology of how somebody might receive these numbers. If I'm seeing prices go up, the psychology is one of abundance and urgency. I'm thinking I want a list. And so I encourage you guys to sort of think about, what these numbers mean in terms of evoking kind of, I guess, an emotional response is maybe how we would talk about it. Anyway, so that's that. These are the weekly data. If you guys want month over month or month to date data, we've got that in here as well too under this tables. This is a new thing, so it wasn't here a couple weeks ago, but it'll give you month to date activity up through the 13th of February. It'll kind of tell you where we are this month. So again, that's a really nice one to just plug into weekly meetings. All right, I'm going to check the chat real quick. That was a bit of a mouthful. Let's see. So Susie was asking, is the percentage of over asking pertaining to the price point or the amount of listings that are going asking? That was pertaining to the price point, Susie. We do have the amount of listings that are going asking in dashboards, which I will show you in a minute. But this section down here was pertaining to the price point and how many deals were in that price point, and then of course what was the final over asking in that. So very good. And one more question regarding the email. You can download the reports. Yes, exactly. So let's talk real quick about downloading. There's a button right here. You can download the entire thing or pick the pages. That is okay to do if you want a PDF that's nice and packaged up. I would also suggest the idea of doing a screenshot, which you can do all day and sort of grab these little nuggets out of the, there you go, you can hear my camera. And if you have a snipping tool on your computer, this is the best way. You can literally just go through the system and just capture these little things to pop into your presentation or an email or a text or whatever. If you want to know how to do that, I can show you real quick. I have a quick little thing right here on a Mac. This is what you do if you want to grab a screen grab. So this is just a nice little skill to have anyway. You guys probably know. If you use a PC, you just search for your snipping tool and you hit new, and that'll allow you to do that screen grab. Okay, very good. So that is the market reports. That covers kind of the what should I bring to my weekly meetings? How can I help my agents kind of articulate the pricing, the buyer demand, and the inventory? How can I help them look at month to date, year to date, week over week stats to make my meetings fresh with market data? That is this. I'm going to run into the next thing, which is called dashboards. And so this, I'm not going to go like totally into details on this, but I want to introduce this concept to you. If any of you guys are running training sessions, I think this is something that needs to be paid attention to. And it's the idea of delivering data at certain moments in your transaction. And, I think oftentimes, we go by gut, right? We may be taking a seller in through these various moments of doing a CMA, of listing the property, of watching the property, of setting expectations about days on market and how we're doing, and then maybe even approaching that idea of doing a price drop. And there's these kind of moments that can be sometimes a bit awkward. They're not always what your client wants to hear. But we find that when you can deliver the data in these moments, your team is going to be infinitely more effective, especially in the eyes of their clients. And that is the name of the game, is allowing them to do their job with data. So I'm going to go live into dashboards real quick and just show you a quick overview of what this tool does. And so the idea here is that we've laid out a series of very simple kind of square-shaped dashboards that are thinking about the specific moments in a transaction. And this doesn't mean that if you're training a team, you need to tell them that, hey, every moment you need to go pull the data out of SmartMLS stats and use it. It basically just means keep an eye out for these different moments that you might be seeing. And if you need some data to support it, by the way, you can go in here and here's where to find it. So I'm going to show you a couple examples of that. So we're in Bridgeport right here looking at a listing. We looked at this yesterday in our meeting. The first step in the transaction is usually just an introduction to that market. This will do exactly that. Maybe in an initial listing meeting or a presentation or whatever. This will basically allow your agents to quickly grab the highlights. And it's a literally a 10-second thing where they pick one of these and says, hey, in your area, just so you know, we're seeing a really good increase in 4% of prices. So that's one thing. Sales, believe it or not, are actually up 50% year to date in this area of Bridgeport. But we're seeing listings actually down. So, these are just little nuggets of information that are wrapped up in these year to date and month over month numbers. We'll see agents come in here and broach the idea of pricing. And a lot of times there's this idea of price per square foot and how do we start this kind of conversation about pricing the property. This is a real nice way to sort of showcase, what the range in this area was last month, where that compares to the previous years. So at 263, obviously prices have gone up. And it starts that conversation of gearing them up for maybe where their listing falls along the spectrum of all the properties, and it forces them to sort of think about it. Am I in this fixer upper category? I am in the luxury category. Well, more than likely, we'd probably be in this 250 to kind of 300 area, and so it kind of helps you to broach that question. If you want to go further with sort of the pricing conversation, this is obviously a way to sort of introduce pricing in the market, and we can just take that same thing that we just looked at, which is 250 to 300 price per square foot. We can pop it up here on this table right here and basically kind of show where the market is for their price, which may be 1,800, which kind of typically brings them in here. And it's not a CMA, it's just a visual that helps to, prime the pipes and get them thinking maybe where they might be landing. So you can see here, we're kind of going through these different stages. We've talked about the market. We've talked about maybe approaching pricing. We're looking here at the listings that are in the market. Sometimes we may want just a little snippet of information that says, hey, here's what we're looking at. By the way, this is the price point we're looking at entering in. You can see there's not a lot of not a lot of competition in that price point. Sometimes your agent may want to talk about when do we list. Well, this is another opportunity for us to shine and show that we know the data. And whether or not they go with it or not doesn't matter. It shows that your team is prepared. And I think this is an amazing thing. It says on Monday in this market, most people are listing their properties on a Friday or a Thursday. But strangely enough, the data is showing that if you list on a Monday in 06606 in Bridgeport, you've got a 1.5 over asking advantage, just historically. So this is a really cool piece of data. Again, I would probably go over here, do myself a little screenshot, pop this into my listing presentation, and impress my client. So we've listed the property, right? We're sitting there waiting. Our client is like, hey, it's 18 days. We have not gotten an offer. It's an awkward conversation. You don't want that to translate into any sort of bad blood or maybe losing the listing. Why not keep your client properly informed about expectations? And in this market, 32 days is typically when properties are going under contract. You can see that line right here. If they're in here, they have nothing to worry about. Even if they're up here at 100 days, they have nothing to worry about. Plenty of deals get done at that point. We can look over here and have a little bit more information. We can blow this up and see where deals are closing faster. Point is we have really nice big visual data that we can use to plug in if we need to talk about days on market. And then, of course, there's information about price drops that can help us to figure out if and when and how much we want to do a price drop. We can support that conversation. If we're accepting offers, we might want to come in here and talk about what kinds of offers are coming in at what time in the transaction. This is another point that I think that a lot of folks miss as an opportunity to bring data into that transaction and impress their client. You have an offer that comes in at 80 days. Wouldn't it be nice to have a tool where we could look at what other winning offers were at that time period? So you can see here, I put 60 to 120 days, and the market is telling me that on average, they're going at about asking $5,000 under average for all of those that came in at that time period. If we had a price drop, we could plug that in and see what kind of the norm was. And this just helps us to talk about offers. So this again is the dashboards tool. And again, I would love to see some of you guys bring this into some of your training sessions and really help to have your agents incorporate this. And again, it's stages of the transaction and bringing the right data at the right time. And I'm going to pause real quick, just check the chat. We're at 10:30 right now. I think we're going to go about 10:40 on this. Cool. Awesome. All right. So lastly, guys, this happens to be sort of one of my favorite uses of the data. And it's this idea of supporting the marketing that you guys are doing as a team and supporting the marketing that your agents are doing, right? And so this can be as sophisticated or not sophisticated as you want. Literally, the idea of having little snippets of market data is not rocket science. Even just here's the month to date, median sale price across Connecticut can do wonders if your agents routinely plug them in to their channels, right? Whether it's, social media or an email that they have going out or whatever. And so, as a team leader, I would hope that you guys see the value in that and would find these little nuggets that you like and you can give to your agents and suggest. My kind of next level kind of spin of this is getting a little bit more sophisticated about where we're marketing to. And I think that when you can come up with a message that is timely and that it is focused to a specific group of people based on moments in the market right now, I think you're going to find that your marketing is going to have a lot more effectiveness and response. And so I'm going to talk a little bit about what that means through this report called comparison reports. And the goal with this report, as you can see here, is to find buyer and seller opportunities right now. Where is the market hot? Where is the market cool? What price ranges within my CRM? If I could go into my CRM and pull out all of the $500,000 buyers, what price ranges are hot right now, and I should be telling those people that. So I'm going to use this tool to sort of demonstrate what this is all about. And I'm going to go in and just highlight a couple of these things. I'm going to go into Fairfield County. I'm going to assume maybe a few of you guys work in Fairfield County. And I'm going to pull up a few things. And this is basically the months of supply. So what this is doing is it's attempting to go through all of the cities in Connecticut, which I'm sure you guys service, and tell you the ones that are best right now for sellers based on the market conditions that are happening in this moment. And so when we calculate months of supply, obviously by what's going on here, you can see that Weston is incredibly in need of more inventory right now. So the balance of the market is temporarily out of whack. What this means is that any seller that you have that might be sitting in your database right now that's looked at Weston or looked at selling in Weston 6 months ago, right now would be an incredibly opportune time because the market needs their inventory. It needs their product, and the market will likely be willing to present a favorable transaction for them. And so if there's a way I can articulate that, I don't know if that's done right, but we want you to use the data to tell your clients that the market is in need of them and is willing to present to them a favorable transaction. So if you come in and you sell right now down here in one of these places, it's a tougher environment where you're going to probably see longer on market, less competitive bids. The whole thing will probably be just less advantageous for them. And the flip side up here. So point of this is you can take this, you can do whatever you want with it. I might take a screenshot of this. I might pop it into a mailer and add my own words. I may even do like a video on the BombBomb tool or whatever and send it out to people in Weston or Trumbull or Brookfield if you have the ability to do that. But this is the idea of this tool is to really help direct your marketing efforts to the right places. Consequently, the $300,000 price point is also across Fairfield the most popular right now. So you tell your sellers about this, you tell your buyers about that. If you have a buyer up here, maybe you don't tell them that. Maybe you do. I don't know. But this is one way to do that. And this you can also break down by price range too. So if you are looking to do marketing that's specifically geared towards the $1 million plus crowd, you can do that. If you want to look at the condos, you can do that. You want to look at 3 bedrooms and do some really, really nice kind of targeted stuff where you're saying, hey, for 3 bedrooms for all of my move up families looking for 3 bedrooms. It actually happens that Trumbull is the best place right now for you. So anyway, that is that. Again, I'm not going to go through everything on comparison reports here, but I wanted to introduce that concept to you guys, and I wanted to encourage you to come in and look at this tool as a way to bring kind of like urgency-inducing content out to your marketing channels. We can see right now if we go into Bridgeport right here, let's see what the median days on market is. And yeah, so if you got sellers down there in the coastal area in the south, properties are selling a third as fast as the ones up here. Screen grab, send it out to a text message, somebody I haven't talked to in a couple months, it's bound to get a response. So yeah, check this out. We'll break down the market by price ranges. We'll break it down by zip codes, by cities, by counties. You can grab it however you want. You can do the comparisons however you want. This right here is looking at year-to-date data across the top Bridgeport zip codes and comparing it to last year-to-date. So this gives you a couple little nuggets of information. Which look at that, 06060 is $22 above last year price per square foot rise. So that's interesting. All right, cool. Last thing before we head out is I did want to mention the migration reports. And we'll talk about some of the training things real quick for a minute or two as well. Migration reports is something that's really popular. A lot of people don't know about this. This is really interesting just as a visual thing to take out there. And what it's doing basically is it is looking at that little field where it's where are the buyers from and where are the sellers going to that you guys have so diligently been putting in your MLS. And this is allowing us to look at that data in lots of different interesting ways. So right now, Fairfield sellers are typically moving to either Florida or New York at a very big pace. We had 203 sales doing the New York move in the last, what is that, 6 months? So you can set your time period to whatever you want right here, and we can tell you kind of where everybody's been moving. You can look at that in terms of like a state map. If I was running an office, I might put this out. If I was, the king of Hartford, I might come over here and look at Hartford right here and put this out in a social media, which I think is super interesting, where you can see 22% are going to Florida in the last 6 months. We'll do the same thing with the buyers, the exact same visuals. And then we do have another one that's kind of cool too, which we added in very recently, which is just looking at out of state versus in state, right? And how has that changed? Maybe you want to talk about this. Break this one down for you. For example, in 2021, 27% was buying from out of state. So they're probably coming from New York. Yep. And that number's gone down to 17. So we're seeing more in-state buyers right now in Connecticut. And here's a breakdown over this time period. And of course, 41% in New York kind of leading the charge on that. So anyway, just wanted to point that out. That's migration reports. Where was I? So yeah, lastly, I just want to show you the training stuff real quick. So as we wrap up here, hopefully you guys got a couple interesting little tidbits that you can take back to your team. If you're looking for little things that you just want to bring up in a meeting and don't want to, put together a session, I'd encourage you to grab these. These are little nuggets, for example, of featured data that people like. And so you may have a meeting and you want to just real quickly, team, I just want to show you guys how to calculate appreciation. And this kind of explains why they would want to do it, where they would go to find it, and then what that would look like. And in this case, we can see that 2,300 square foot properties have appreciated almost 2x in the last 8 years. And so there's lots of different things in there that you might want to read through. Anything from calculating adjustments on properties to accepting offers and things like that. And then if you really want to go deeper into all of that, we've got training material here on each of these. So you guys can check these out. It's probably if you're doing like a longer session for new agents or something like that, where we'll kind of break down how to use the system, how to think about data, basically trying to do some thinking for you so you don't have to when you're trying to prepare your new agent training stuff. Okay, so we are at 10:40, just as I think we planned. I want to thank you guys for hanging in there with all the stuff. Hopefully you got a few things out of it. I'm going to check the chat real quick, and if anybody wants to chime in. Amazing session. Thank you. It only covers single family. We do rentals. Yes, that's a question in here. Right here on the data tools, you get rental information. Is there an AI component? Randy, please tell us what you want on that. We're trying to figure it out. We've got the capabilities to do a chat GPT kind of thing on a lot of different data tools talking about AI. I would love to hear from you or anybody else about really whatever you want. We've got a team of developers that is trying to figure out what to spend time on, and AI is one of them. So please write in on the contact us if you have any ideas there. All right. Okay. Thank you guys again for the time. Appreciate it. Have a great rest of the day, and look forward to you in a future session. Take care.